My parents didn't include me in their housewarming event. They labeled it a celebration for a true family. They posted this in a group chat, but I chose not to respond. A month later, when they came asking for financial help, I refused, and my father reacted violently. I discovered they had purchased a new home through Amanda's Instagram, not from them directly. A series of edited images appeared on my feed, Amanda posing with our parents in front of a sold property, everyone smiling as if they had just acquired a luxurious estate. The reality was different. It was a 2-story house in a planned community with a name like Whispering Meadows or Silver Grove, despite the absence of any meadows or groves nearby. I remained silent. I had been out of the loop for a while. That's how it is with families like mine. You grow up believing there's an unbreakable bond, but eventually, you realize some people are just sharing a roof. When they're not, distance becomes a choice. Growing up, it was obvious Amanda was the favorite. It wasn't subtle. She received a car at 16. I got a lecture on responsibility. She wrecked that car. They bought her another one. Once, I asked for gas money and was called ungrateful. My mother often said Amanda had a spark. That spark led her to date older men in college, skip exams, and eventually marry Daniel. Wealthy, divorced, with a waterfront home, and no children. My parents treated her engagement like an Ivy League acceptance. Meanwhile, I worked through community college, held a full-time warehouse job, and repaired my own car every time it broke down. I never asked for help. Not because I didn't need it, but because I knew I wouldn't receive it. So when I saw that group chat message, I wasn't surprised. This is a gathering for a true family. That was all. A single line dropped like a blade. No explanation, no names, but I knew it was meant for me. Others were tagged in photos or mentioned by name. I wasn't. Amanda, of course, flooded the chat with images as if she was documenting for a magazine. Her by the fireplace, her in the kitchen with wine, her in the driveway with our father. Each caption was worse than the last. So proud, fresh start, this is how it was always meant to be. I didn't respond. I just watched and laughed. Not aloud, just the kind of hollow laugh you muster when someone goes out of their way to exclude you and thinks they've won. That evening, my grandmother called. She rarely intervenes unless it's serious. Sharp-minded, living independently at 83, she still drives and keeps a handwritten log of birthdays, distrusting digital reminders. She didn't ask how I was. She simply said, "I saw what they wrote. They think Amanda succeeded because she married into wealth. But real success is what you build, not what you inherit." I didn't argue. I never do with her. She's the only one who never made me feel like an afterthought. What none of them knew, not even Amanda, was that I was doing well. I kept it to myself. I ran a side business restoring vintage electronics, and over the past year, it had surpassed my day job's income. I was finally saving real money. No fanfare, no photos, just steady work. So when they held their true family event without me, I let them toast, smile, and post their staged moments. The irony? A month later, my parents showed up at my doorstep. Not to apologize, not to bring leftovers, or say they missed me. They were broke, and they wanted money. That's when things turned bizarre, really bizarre. It was a Sunday afternoon when they arrived. I almost didn't answer. I had just returned from repairing a vintage jukebox for a retro diner owner and was exhausted. Unexpectedly, I saw my father's face through the peephole, and something inside me froze. I opened the door slowly. There they stood, my mother in full makeup, as if attending a wedding, and my father with that forced smile he used during parent-teacher conferences when masking disappointment. They skipped pleasantries. "No, how have you been?" My mother cut to the chase. "We're in a bit of a situation." I already sensed what was coming. The house they'd flaunted wasn't fully paid for. They'd barely managed the down payment, banking on promised support from Amanda and Daniel that never materialized. Daniel had lost money in a failed venture, and Amanda had no legal ties to it. Classic. They'd also refinanced their old home, drained their savings on unnecessary upgrades, custom lighting, an extravagant backsplash, a pointless wine fridge, and were now drowning in debt with a ballooning mortgage. Then, the final blow. My father was laid off. His company had been restructuring for months, and he'd either missed the signs or ignored them. Now, unemployed in his 50s, he was panicking. I stood there silently, just listened. My mother kept saying things like, "We thought Amanda would help more," and "She married into money, but it's not really hers," and "We always thought you were the reliable one." That last one nearly made me laugh. Reliable? Like furniture no one uses. Suddenly I was valuable, reliable. Then came the ask. My father finally said it. They needed money. Not much, they claimed. Just enough to cover the mortgage for a few months, maybe clear their mounting credit card bills. My mother said they had a plan to recover. They just needed a little breathing room. I didn't hesitate. I said no. I told them I wouldn't participate in their fantasy, that I wasn't their safety net, and that I didn't appreciate being excluded from the true family 1 month and asked for money the next. That's when my father erupted, not just angry, screaming, red-faced, accusing me of betraying my blood, saying things like, "After all we've done for you." It made me wonder if we remembered the same childhood. My mother tried to calm him, but he raged on, called me ungrateful, selfish, said I'd regret it. Then he said something unforgettable. "If your grandmother hadn't poisoned you against us, maybe you'd understand loyalty." That's when I told them to leave. Not with anger, just clarity. As I closed the door, I realized something I hadn't fully admitted before. I felt nothing. No guilt, no anger, just an odd peace. Of course, that peace was short-lived. The next day, Amanda texted me, and she had a scheme. The message arrived at 6:14 a.m. Amanda never texted that early. "Hey, can we talk?" No emojis, no drama. That was the first red flag. She always used exclamation points and hearts when she wanted something. I left it unread. I assumed it was about the blow-up with our parents. Maybe she was trying to salvage her golden child image now that it was tarnished. Or maybe she wanted to play mediator, pretend to be the voice of reason. I waited a few hours. She texted again, then called. The voicemail she left piqued my curiosity. I wasn't prepared for what I heard. No fake warmth, no "hope you're well." Straight to the point. She said she had a plan to help everyone. Second red flag. When Amanda had plans, someone always suffered. Usually not her, usually me. I called back, mostly to hear the pitch. I wanted to see how far she'd go now that things were crumbling. She answered immediately. No small talk. She dove in. Told me she wanted me to give our parents the money, but make it seem like it came from her. Not just the cash, but the credit. She said it would protect her image with Daniel's family. Apparently, she'd painted herself as the devoted, generous daughter with successful parents and a perfect family. She couldn't risk this becoming messy. She offered vague promises of repayment or favors in return. She even suggested introducing me to someone in Daniel's circle, as if I'd leap at the chance to network with another shallow opportunist. I asked if she heard herself. She said, "I'm just trying to keep the family together." That's when I snapped. I told her the family had already shattered, that she and our parents had ensured it, that the family they were trying to save had never included me. I reminded her of the party, the message, the selfies she posted while I watched from the sidelines. Now, weeks later, she expected me to pretend she was the hero. She didn't even defend herself. That was the worst part. She just said, coolly, "You always change your mind." That call lingered in my mind, not because I considered helping, but because something clicked. Amanda didn't just think I'd help, she thought I needed to, that I still craved her approval, some childhood wound I wanted to heal. Maybe once I did, but no longer. The truth was, I'd been building something solid, quietly. I restored vintage tech, turntables, tube radios, even pinball machines. It started as a hobby, then grew. I gained a reputation. Orders came from out of state. A collector recently offered to buy my inventory and invest in a proper shop. I hadn't told anyone. I didn't want Amanda's condescending, "That's cute," Or my mother's blank stare when I explained how a refurbished 1970s amplifier could sell for thousands. They never cared about my work until they needed something. I thought it was over. Then my grandmother called, her tone sharper than usual. She said they'd shown up uninvited at her home, sat in her living room as if nothing had happened, discussing me like I was some unstable outcast who'd been turned against them. My father even suggested she talk sense into me. That maybe she could help them if I wouldn't. Then he implied she owed them. After all, they'd been burdened with the less successful child. And hadn't she always favored me? She kicked them out, told them never to return. But before hanging up, she said something that stuck. They're not just desperate, Eric. They're bitter. And bitter people do reckless things. I didn't dwell on it. But 2 nights later, I found a note slipped under my door. No signature, no recognizable handwriting, just, "Think you're better than them now? Don't forget who raised you." That's when I knew this wasn't about money anymore. It was nearly midnight when I found it. I'd been out picking up a broken 1983 Sony turntable from a cellar 2 towns over. It was raining, and I was drenched. I almost missed the note. A single sheet, folded once, slipped under the door like a passive-aggressive flyer. No envelope, no handwriting, just a printed message in bold. Think you're better than them now? Don't forget who raised you. It wasn't the words that unsettled me. It was the fact that someone had come to my door. My building requires a code or key. Someone had waited or followed a tenant inside. I stood there holding the note. It wasn't signed, but it didn't need to be. Only 3 people would write that. Amanda, my mother, or my father, or all 3 collaborating. The irony? The tone was almost polite. No threats, no curses. Just a cold reminder of their twisted belief, that because they brought me into the world, I owed them an unpayable debt. I didn't call them. I didn't respond. I put the note in a drawer with other relics. Amanda's wedding invitation I'd forgotten to discard. A birthday card from my parents addressed to Champ, because my name was too much effort. But after that, I started locking my door. 3 days passed. Silence. Then, out of nowhere, 5 consecutive calls from my mother. She never called unless it was Christmas or a funeral. There was a voicemail, no greeting, just her voice, sharp and weary. "You're selfish, Eric. You don't understand real responsibility. We're trying to hold our home together. You've never had a family of your own. You've never had to care for anyone but yourself. A few $1,000s. That's nothing to someone so successful, right?" She said so successful, like it was a punchline, like I'd invented it. 30 seconds later, another voicemail, this time from my father. "Without us, you'd still be flipping burgers. You think your little repair business means anything? You think you did this alone? We taught you to work. We gave you everything. And now you act like we're nothing?" I didn't listen to the end. I tossed my phone onto the counter. Later, out of curiosity, I replayed it. Twice. Not because I doubted myself, because I wanted to hear how far they'd go to rewrite history. Everything I had, I'd earned. The late nights, the struggles, the months in a tiny apartment with sweating walls in summer and freezing ones in winter, the side gigs, the weekends I skipped parties to repair antique speakers just to pay rent. But none of that mattered to them. In their story, they were saints, and I was the ungrateful one. Amanda was the golden child who married wealth, and I was the backup meant to quietly support them when their ship sank. That night, Amanda texted me. 5 words. "Did you get the message?" So it was her. No denial, no explanation, just confirmation. I replied with 1 word, "Yes." A minute later, "You're blowing this out of proportion. They're your parents. They need help. You're acting like the victim. It's just money, Eric. Grow up." I didn't respond, but something shifted after that. I stopped expecting them to leave me alone. I stopped hoping silence would make them disappear. The next morning, I found my father standing by my car, not moving, not speaking, just waiting. He was there when I stepped outside, just standing there, as if he had every right to be. As if nothing had happened, as if he hadn't left voicemails calling me ungrateful or tried to manipulate his own mother into fixing his mess. He didn't speak at first, just nodded, like this was a casual meetup, like we'd chat about sports or the weather. Thought we could talk face to face, he said. I didn't move, didn't blink. He continued like he'd rehearsed it. Told me things were worse than he'd admitted. The mortgage wasn't just overdue, it was nearing default. The bank was calling. The credit cards were maxed out, and not just theirs. Amanda had given them access to one of hers months ago, but had now cut them off completely. Daniel, surprisingly, wasn't interested in bailing them out. We made mistakes, Dad said. But we tried to build something better. I stared at him. For who? I asked. He paused. Then, predictably, he played the guilt card, said I was being dramatic, that every family faces hardships, that I had no idea what it meant to carry a family, to keep it afloat. You think because you've got some money now, you can judge us? He said. I didn't raise you like this. I replied calmly. You didn't raise me. You tolerated me. You rejected everything about me that wasn't like Amanda. You gave her everything, and now you want to take what I've built for myself. He tried to interrupt. I didn't let him. You want money? Ask Amanda, ask Daniel. Ask the family you were proud to have, the ones you toasted with champagne while laughing at my absence. He flushed. That was a misunderstanding, he mumbled. Really? I said. You posted, this is a gathering for a true family. He had no response. He looked away, as if searching for a new script. Then he said, so that's it? You'll let your parents drown? I held his gaze. They are not my responsibility. That was the breaking point. He exploded, screamed in the parking lot, called me ungrateful, said he should have never supported me, that I was nothing without them, that I'd regret it. You'll die alone, Eric. You think money will keep you warm? When we're gone, who'll be left? Amanda? She doesn't even like you. You'll die bitter. I didn't answer. I got in my car and drove away. I didn't feel victorious. I didn't feel free. I felt done. But I knew them. My parents didn't lose quietly. When cut off, they didn't retreat. They schemed. And I was right. 5 days later, my business account was flagged. Someone had falsely reported me for fraud. An anonymous tip. The worst part? They used my grandmother's name. It started with a frozen account. I was packing a refurbished Marantz amplifier for a collector in Michigan when I got the alert. Account under review. Immediate action required. At first, I thought it was a scam. But when I logged in, my funds were frozen. Transactions halted. The claim accused me of selling counterfeit goods, deceiving customers, pocketing payments, and shipping defective items. The kind of allegation that could ruin a small business. My hands went cold. Not from fear, from sheer disbelief. I contacted the bank's fraud department, explained everything. I sent invoices, testimonials, serial numbers, photos, receipts, everything but a DNA sample. The agent was sympathetic. She'd resolve it within 48 hours. Before hanging up, she said something unexpected. The person who filed the complaint identified herself as Florence Whitman. I paused. Florence Whitman? Yes, she said. She claimed to be a customer and your grandmother. I thanked her and hung up. I sat in silence, not angry, just weary, like pressing on an old bruise. My grandmother couldn't use a microwave without help. She had a flip phone. She thought Wi-Fi was a supplement. There was no way she'd filed an online fraud report. But 3 people could have done it in her name. 2 had called me a disgrace days earlier. The 3rd had tried to trick me into giving her credit for money she didn't have. I didn't call Amanda. I didn't text my parents. I went straight to Grandma's house. She was in her yard, pulling weeds as if nothing had happened. I told her what the bank said. Her hands didn't stop working. I figured they'd try something like this, she said. Your father came by 2 days ago. He left angry when I refused to talk sense into you. I sat with her. She'd already called the bank, left a voicemail denying the fraud claim, and confirmed she'd never filed any complaint. She didn't ask. She just acted. They're trying to hurt you now, she said plainly, because they can't control you. That night, I typed one last message in the group chat. My parents, Amanda, the thread where they'd posted family photos, dinner invites I wasn't meant to see, party pics captioned, "Finally, all of us together." I didn't yell. I didn't plead. I wrote, "I know one of you used Grandma's name to attack my business. I don't care who. I'm done. Don't contact me again. Don't ask for anything. Don't pretend we're family. You made it clear what I was to you. I believed you. Now, believe me." No one replied. I blocked all three, changed my number a week later, deleted the chat. I even changed my garage lock after my father parked outside, staring at the building before driving away. Amanda tried connecting on LinkedIn 2 weeks later. I ignored her. She messaged, "I don't get why you're so angry. Family goes through tough times. You need to be the bigger person." I blocked her there too. From what Grandma hears, they're still in that house. My father tried part-time work, but no one wants a man with his ego. My mother sells essential oils online. Amanda and Daniel moved to Nevada, probably to escape their reputation. Meanwhile, I expanded. Leased a proper workshop with storage space. Orders keep coming. A collector in Oregon just paid $5,000 for a fully restored reel-to-reel. Grandma visits on Sundays. We make grilled cheese and listen to jazz. She never mentions my parents. Neither do I. The silence is comfortable. I used to think I needed closure, that an apology or admission would fix things. Turns out I didn't. I just needed distance. And now I sleep like I've earned it. If you enjoyed this story and felt the emotions behind it, don't forget to give it a like, share it with others, and subscribe to the channel for more real-life experiences and heartfelt stories. Your support means the world, and it helps us bring more content like this to you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.